Good morning. So it is June 10th, 2025, and we are reading in the Habits of Health book. And in my version, it's page 45, which we are in the second section of 1.1. And it starts at the kitchen has become the living room of the past. So, as a baby boomer, growing up in suburbia, kids were not allowed to hang out in the living room for fear we would ruin the upholstery. You could describe it as an early form of staging. Slip covers kept the dust off, and velvet rope kept us out. The living room was a showpiece reserved for adults and only used when there was company. Some things never change. Kitchens seem to have gone the same way. Sub-zero refrigerators, exotic granite surfaces, copper pots and pans, the Viking range that looks like showroom models created exhibition rooms to be admired but not used. We eat out almost as much as we cook our own food. In 1900, 2% of meals were eaten outside of the home. In 2010, 50% were eaten away from home. And 1 in 5 breakfasts is bought, at McDonald's. Even when we eat at home, it doesn't look like the gathering place of my youth, where we would congregate around nourishing home-cooked meals. Today, families last less than 20 minutes and take place on average 3 nights a week. On top of that, time together as a family, which has been proven to increase the success of our children, is degraded by watching television or texting. More meals are eaten in the minivan than the kitchen. I'm going to read this sidebar on page 45. Sugar is not evil. We were born with the preference for sweets, or our taste buds prefer sugar because we can safely digest it, and it supports our body functions. Breast milk is sweet because we need a concentrated fuel to develop our bodies and grow our brains. Our brains connect sugar with pleasure because that relationship has allowed us to survive. And last night on the webinar, it was very interesting. They said that if you have a sweet tooth, you actually are craving protein. I didn't know that, so very, very interesting. I'd like to look into more information about that. And I'm going to do the sidebar on 46. A habit of disease. The fast food habit. Did you know that eating too much unhealthy fast food, even for a single week, can cause noticeable damage to your body? In a study published online in Gut, the International Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology, 18 healthy adults ate at least 2 fast food meals a day. It doubled their daily intake of calories. The study also limited their exercise. In just 1 week, half of the group had elevated levels of ALT enzymes, a common indicator of liver damage. By the end of the study, the entire group had gained on average 14 pounds per participant. The conclusion: our bodies just aren't made to handle more than occasional fast food. Wow. Okay. According to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, millennials alone spend 44% of their food dollars eating out. That's an increase of 7% from the tail end of the baby boomers. What we know is that a habit of eating out on fast food is perilous. Eating fast food and processed food may increase your risk of depression. Eating foods filled with sodium, like many fast foods, can increase your risk of headaches. The carbs and sugar in fast food produce acids that can destroy tooth enamel, leading to dental cavities. Carbs, not grease, can trigger acne. Carb-heavy fast foods like French fries, hamburger buns, and potato chips may lead to acne breakouts. Elevated cholesterol and increased blood pressure are two of the top risk factors for heart disease and stroke. Extra calories can turn into excess pounds. Without exercise to counteract the increase in calories, obesity will follow. Obesity can cause shortness of breath even when you do very little physical activity. Fried foods are filled with trans fats. These fats are known to raise LDL, bad cholesterol levels. Fast food is typically sodium heavy, which can elevate blood pressure or aggravate existing heart disorders, including congestive heart failure. Fast food can lead to frequent insulin spikes. This can lead to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Your body may retain water if you eat too much sodium, leaving you feeling puffy, bloated, and swollen. Fast food can lead to frequent insulin spikes, leading to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. People who eat at fast food restaurants tend to take in an extra 187 to 190 calories per day. Along with more sedentary lifestyle, there's been an alarming increase in our daily ingestion of calories since the early 1980s. The result is a rise in fat accumulation that leads to pre-obesity and obesity. The following chart shows this trend is expected to accelerate into the next decade. If that's not scary enough, a new computer model in the New England Journal of Medicine suggests that the majority, 60% of children growing up in America today, will be obese by the age of 35. How did this happen? Well, you could argue with economics. The overworked, time-starved workforce of the early 1980s spurred the food industry to produce convenient, prepared products and easy-to-access affordable restaurants. It created more variety, but also added more calories to our diets. The Reagan administration, come back to that, hastily deregulated the agriculture industry, which made food cheap, abundant, and more energy dense. Finally, continued demand for high short-term returns on investments by Wall Street stockholders forced food companies to expand their reach into schools, bookstores, and just about any other location humans could be found. I'd wager there has been at least one marketing director that has said, if we can introduce a delivery system to feed our customers while they sleep, then we can tap into 7 hours a day niche that no one owns. Oh my gosh. The food industry continues to lobby hard in Washington. They sponsor journals and special interest groups to market favorable viewpoints of their goods. In the supermarket today's great common marketplace, consumers seek out sound nutritional advice, but are instead faced with communications of for-profit enterprises, which are guided in turn by their need to return profit to stockholders. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so there's this sidebar that I'm going to, it's kind of like a whole page sidebar. The science of food addiction, padding the pockets of the food industry, paving the path to disease. Try this simple experiment. Read the labels on the products you eat. See if you can find how many contain high fructose corn syrup or table sugar. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, added sugars show up on food and drink labels under various names, and so it may be described as one of the following. Woo, anhydrous dextrose, brown sugar, cane crystals, cane sugar, corn sweetener, corn syrup solids, crystal dextrose, evaporated cane juice, fructose sweetener, fruit juice concentrate, high fructose corn syrup, honey, liquid fructose, maltose syrup, maple syrup, molasses, pancake syrup, raw sugar, sugar, syrup, and white sugar. Wow. Other types of sugar you might commonly see on ingredients list are fructose, lactose, and maltose. Fructose is sugar derived from fruit and vegetables. Lactose is milk sugar, and maltose is sugar that comes from grain. If you look at original recipes from these same foods, perhaps the recipe used to be your parents' or in cookbooks from generations ago, you'll see very few of them contain sugar, much less high fructose corn syrup. Why is our food full of this stuff? Well, because when you add high fructose corn syrup to salty foods like ketchup or lunch meats, we eat more of it, and that means more money for the food industry. Your internal appetite control center is designed to tell you that you're full when it senses specific quantities of certain nutrients in your blood. But food scientists working for food companies manipulate the ingredients in processed foods to prevent you from reaching the I'm full feeling. And it's working. When food science began as a discipline in the 1970s, Americans were spending $6 billion a year on fast food. Today, we're spending $200 billion. The math is simple. Unfortunately, the truth may be even more diabolical than we thought. An article in the Chicago Tribune by Patricia Callahan describes a collaborative effort by Philip Morris and Kraft Foods to use the brain research on cigarette addiction to explore how brain scans could show the way the brain processes tastes and smells. Kraft's interest in how the brain is rewarded by sweets and fatty foods led to the tantalizing glimpse of the interplay between food and tobacco scientists. Wow. And here is some of the side effects. There's a picture there. And I'll read a few of them. So, up at the brain, depression. On the face, acne, dental distress, shortness of breath, high cholesterol, extra calories, insulin resistance, headaches, bloating and puffiness, heart disease or stroke, high blood pressure, and weight gain. And that's the side effects of eating fast food. Okay, sidebar on page 49. Research shows that children who have regular meals with their parents do better in every way, from better grades to healthier relationships to staying out of trouble. They are 42% less likely to drink, 50% less likely to smoke, and 66% less likely to smoke marijuana. Regular family dinners protect girls from bulimia, anorexia, and diet pills. Family dinners also reduce the incidence of childhood obesity. In a study on household routines and obesity in the U.S. preschool children, it was shown that kids as young as 4 have a lower risk of obesity if they have regular family dinners, have enough sleep, and don't watch TV on weekends. Interesting. So the numbers tell the story. The math couldn't be simpler, or the impact of what it's telling us more deadly. Consume more caloric energy than you use, and the excess must be stored as fat. Keep that up, and those extra pounds quickly lead to pre-obesity and obesity, an insidious disease that leads directly to premature death. Dun dun dun. Just saying. The answers are right in front of us. There is no need to spend any more time researching the causes or thinking about the solution to this overwhelming problem. In 1993, McGinnis published the most significant cause of death in the U.S. in the Journal of American Medical Associations. The top 3 causes of death were smoking, overeating, and lack of exercise. Is that not sad that those are all preventable? Those are all choices that we make. They are all causes that are that are within our control. Today, not much has changed. All recent studies reach the same conclusion. The only news is that the modifiable behaviors of eating too much and not being active enough are catching up with smoking in causing disease and death. And actually, I think it was within 6 months of this book coming out, obesity did take the lead above smoking. So, although we're learning more about the metabolism and the inequality of different sources of calories, with regard to how they switch on our natural fat storage capacity, the facts and the fats remain the same. If our daily choices create an unhealthy dietary patterns, and if we subscribe to a sedentary lifestyle, we can predict the following. We will gain weight, become overweight and obese, and shorten the quality and the quantity of our lives. So where in medical technology is all of this? Sadly, it's focused on sick care, not health care. Its focus today is where I was a long time ago, delivering new technologies and lifestyle-saving breakthroughs in operating rooms and intensive care units. The problem is, no matter how remarkable these developments in critical care are, they are too far downstream from the source and the start of the problem. Part of the blame lies in the medical model itself. Sick care today is overseen by so many people with so many diverse interests and agendas that the healthcare provider-patient relationship is no longer the most important component of the model. The main strategy is the same as it was 18 years ago. Medicine cures illness rather than create health and well-being. Most of us have little exposure to the current model until we exhibit symptoms, a sign that we're already a long way down the path to disease. Don't misunderstand me, as healing the sick is a noble cause, but it comes too late. We should be asking why disease is present in the first place. We should be working out health creation strategies so the diseases don't get a head start. Medical science, with its emphasis on fighting disease rather than preventing it, just isn't prepared to answer these questions. Oh my gosh, and being in the health coaching world and listening to how many medical providers we have, that a switch was flipped in their minds and they're just so ready to go to the beginning. I just love to see so many people who feel like they've found the golden ticket. I mean, after having been, their heart was to serve people and they just weren't seeing the results that they wanted. And once they are lit up with what Dr. A teaches, it's like, it's so fun because, well, some of them stay in the medical world, but some of them actually don't. They just become health coaches and they get ahead of it all. But we have quite a few of them that are staying in the middle of what's going on and able to direct them to getting ahead of these things. So it's pretty crazy. So it's totally understandable. It's in our nature to be problem solvers. In fact, society encourages it. 10,000 years ago, our hostile world presented one life-threatening problem after another. In order to survive, we had to think in terms of threats, hazards, and dangers, and risk we might face every single day. So although we might all be against the idea of disease, it doesn't mean we're necessarily doing what's needed to create health and well-being. It's a critical distinction that most of the medical profession hasn't made. Today's medications and surgical advances are helping to control the symptoms of people who are already sick, but modern medicine is doing very little to stop the progression from health to non-sick and disease. The vast majority of us, 90% of us in fact, are currently in a less than optimal state and headed in the wrong direction. The reality that the current health plan isn't working is nowhere more apparent than in today's disturbing increase in obesity, diabetes, and hypertension in young people. Even the term adult onset diabetes has become obsolete, renamed type 2 diabetes. This debilitating disease is reaching epidemic proportions among people of all ages. It's attacking children as young as 6 years of age. Type 2. The health path chart on the next page illustrates the effect that the current medical model is having on our health. As you can see, the forecast path indicates that the future more people are expected to become sick at a younger age. Life expectancy is also expected to shorten. And it's not just our health that's suffering. It's our pocketbook as well. Despite the fact that the U.S. spends more than any nation in the world on healthcare, we're not even in the top 25 in terms of health of our citizens. We have made great strides. Our directive on curing heart disease brought about many new advancements, including non-invasive diagnostics and clot-busting medications. The death rate from heart disease has decreased dramatically as a result. But the cost of these super advanced devices and advance is bankrupting our healthcare system. In the U.S., we spend 50% of our $3.2 trillion healthcare budget taking care of people who are sick. Less than 5% is spent on helping people stay healthy in the first place. And the medications we're using to treat symptoms caused by excess weight and lack of exercise are making us sicker. So I think that it is clear that the institutions we depend on to keep us safe are either letting us down or adapting too slowly to the epidemic of obesity. By contrast, the health plan that is laid out in this book and its original companion guide has already helped tens of thousands of people take control of their health and forge a new health path, one of optimal health, well-being, and the potential to live longer. And there's the current projection path there. So that top green line is optimal health, and the Dr. A's health plan just keeps us up in the green. Non-sick, he starts heading down a path from birth to 50 years to 100 years, and he's wanting to help us last so much longer. Okay, I'm going to read a couple of sidebars, and we'll start there next. So high glycemic carbohydrates are starchy foods and sugars that quickly raise your blood sugar to a high level and put the body in a fat storage mode, which our program is built to create fat burning, where we turn the pancreas off by eating 6 times a day and eating protein-carb balance with low glycemic. What is a calorie? Calories are used to measure the amount of energy we get from our food. While different types of calories appear in scientific context, in the fields of nutrition and food labeling, a calorie refers to the amount of energy needed to increase the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree centigrade, hence the abbreviation kcal. For our purpose, we'll use the terms calorie and kcal interchangeably. Different sources of calories affect the body in different ways, but for now, a good rule of thumb is to eat what your grandmother ate whenever you can. Medications, a double-edged sword. Did you know that medications are now among the leading causes of death in the nation? According to a study in the Archives of International Medicine, the number of serious adverse drug events, those resulting in disabilities, hospitalizations, birth defects, etc., more than doubled between 1998 and 2005, and the number of adverse drug events resulting in death nearly crippled. Is that absolutely nuts? Wow, we are so close to the end of this piece of it. Do you guys want to go ahead and keep reading for a little bit? Do you have time? Is that all right? Are you with me? Okay, current projected health path. According to the forecasted path in red, that's the chart that we saw. It's green up here and then it drops as we go into sick and non-sick. According to the forecasted path in red, more of us will be getting sicker, younger, and dying sooner unless we adopt a new health path. We have discussed the current inadequacies of the food and the medical industries in supporting our health and well-being. Unfortunately, this tidal wave of unhealthy, calorie-rich food, labor-saving devices, and overwhelming stress is negatively affecting every area of our health and well-being. And as you will see in the following diagram, it is more urgent than ever that we get out ahead of it, or we'll go the same way as the dinosaurs. Thomas Friedman, best known for his work The World is Flat, recently published Thank You for Being Late, in which he talks about acceleration. Today, he said, is the slowest change will ever be. He states that our ability to adapt to change is lagging behind the speed of technology is changing. And then there's a rate of change for how fast technology is changing. So sidebar, there's a group of healthcare professionals who are starting to devote more time to looking at what is necessary to educate their patients on how to improve their lifestyles. I am very proud of the growing group who are joining our team to help coach patients and clients on how to transform their health and well-being. There is a general movement in the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, to start refocusing on lifestyle, and I am also a member of the recently chartered American College of Lifestyle Medicine. Our goal is to move medicine into the third era, where our focus is on holistic approach to health and well-being. In time, we may even eliminate the need for traditional sick care, except in trauma and acute illness. But in the meantime, the habits of health is our best answer. So let's see. He also says that if humans are going to survive, they are going to have to learn how to adapt and at a quicker pace. We'll have to learn to deal with change very differently. This is particularly true when we focus on responding to the factors that determine our health and well-being. Each of us needs to take full responsibility for our own health and well-being, while at the same time working collectively to build a new, healthier world. If we demand healthier food from the food industry and real health care from the medical industry, we will help move those industries forward. There are only key areas that we will need to address so that we can control and modify our behavior. We know we should not smoke. Smoking equals disease and death. We know that we should eat healthier and move more. We know that sleep is not a luxury, but a prerequisite to health. And we know that well-being is disrupted by our technologically advanced world. There are so many ways that the model world is affecting our health and well-being. That's why this book looks at all the things you can do to start building radiant health and vibrant energy, and thereby creating optimal health we all desire in our lives. Studies show that most people that start out to lose weight or get healthy will fail. In fact, 93% of people that make New Year's resolution never reach the goal they've set. They fail because they lack one or more of the following: a sound strategy, a clear process, the skills required, understanding and support, and a proper environment. I want to reinforce an important point. If you have decided to change, do not go it alone. The role and purpose of this book is to put those things together in a simple, achievable system that will help you create optimal health and well-being in a predictable way. We'll be addressing all the key areas that determine your health. Reaching a healthy weight is a natural end point that will come from learning the habits of health and using the creative process to help you focus on organizing your life around what matters most. We are going to build you a new house of health and well-being, brick by brick. This new structure will be built on enough bedrock to ensure whatever this constant changing world throws at you. So before we go on, let's look at why so many people fail. Sidebar. Diets that put your nutritional balance out of whack nearly always fail and can actually make it harder to lose weight in the future. Failure pattern, diet versus exercise. Your healthcare provider tells you to lose weight and sends you off to the hinterland to look for answers. It's like sending a lamb to the wolves. There are a million miracle weight loss products out there and just as many opinions on how to lose weight. Every miracle cure we read about has its proponents. But for now, forget the cabbage diet, the lemon juice diet, water diet, colonics, purging, and other unhealthy methods. And let's just take a look at two major routes to better health: diet and exercise. In moving you towards your goal, diet pundits tell you to focus on diet and exercise pundits tell you to focus on exercise. Of course, both sides pay lip service to the other, but ultimately they're invested in supporting their own interest. The fad diet folks tell you to lower your calorie intake and manipulate macronutrients, protein, fats, and carbs. That's where we get the low-fat diet, low-carb diet, high-protein diet, all of which create an abnormal ratio of nutritional intake. But the food fight among these diet gurus as to who's right and who's wrong. In an exercise in futility, no pun intended, at the end of the day, your body doesn't work the way we think it does. If you lower your carbohydrates, fat, or protein by the wrong percentages, your body will develop cravings, and your chances of maintaining weight loss is like a dog trying to stay away from a porterhouse steak. If you make it through this first phase of weight loss, and many people don't, the irony is that you will have lowered your total energy expenditure per day and therefore lowered your metabolic rate. By not picking precisely the right fuels and foods, you'll lose muscle, the bane of periodic cycle yo-yoing. Your body's furnace has been reset at a lower level than it was when you began your diets, and this can actually lead to obesity. Without going through a recalibration process, you're likely to slip into your old habits. Recalibration, transition. By the way, you'll likely slip into your old eating habits and gain the weight back, but with less effective metabolic furnace. The result, a heavier weight, a higher percentage of body fat versus muscle, a lower metabolic rate, and less inclination to be active, all of which making it even harder to lose weight next time. The exercise enthusiasts try to exercise themselves to a healthy weight, but people who focus on exercise tactic will find themselves as disappointed as the dieters. There are health benefits associated with exercise, but it's hard to lose much weight through the exercise alone. To really lose weight, you would need to do 90 minutes of strenuous exercise a day, according to the U.S. Institution of Medicine. A daunting task that would be impossible for most to fit into their schedules. So, while exercise is critical for long-term success, it has to be one part of the comprehensive process. Once you begin to lose weight, you'll naturally become active. At that point, we'll increase your activity incrementally through the fun choices that increase muscle mass with effects that can last a lifetime. Hopefully, this explains why you gain back weight after dieting alone. As tough as it sounds, there's just one simple solution to reaching and maintaining a healthy weight. That's not to say it's difficult to do, but there's a lot more to it than just diet or exercise. It's not your fault that, like the polar bear, you and your body and brain were designed for the world that is long gone, and you need to survive in that world, in a world that is changing every day. If we choose to wait and watch, our health and our lives and those that we love and cherish will all be negatively affected one way or another. Or you make or you can make a different set of choices, following a path that will teach you how to create permanent health and well-being. The path to optimal health is paved with habits of health. In the next part, we will start to explore this new path of optimal health and well-being. And it's all about balance. Okay, a couple little sidebars and we'll be finished with 1.1. To lose weight through exercise alone, you'd need to work out strenuously for 90 minutes every single day. Are we on a path to health or disease? It is beyond augment that excessive weight is associated with earlier risk of obesity-related disease and death in adulthood. Perhaps one of the most sobering statements regarding the severity of childhood obesity epidemic was published by the American Heart Association last year, when former Surgeon General Richard Carmona characterized the threat as followed. Because of the increasing rates of obesity, unhealthy eating habits, and physical inactivity, we may see the first generation that will be less healthy and have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. Sad to say.